I've deadheaded this bush of roses. In fact, all of them I deadheaded. I will come back and show you when they're blooming, but it helps them to continue to bloom if you deadhead them. I had a friend over to help me clean up out here because I was getting too far behind, and she got the Russian sage all cleaned up, and you can see it's starting to have little, is that a little bloom? Not that one, but we've got little blooms showing up here at the top, and pretty soon they'll be flowering and attracting massive amounts of honeybees, which is of course the goal. Our lamb's ear has just finished blooming. You can see the dried flowers there. Pear tree's looking really good, but there are no pears on it. This is a new tree, so I'm not all that surprised not to see any fruit on it, so maybe next year. But they grow well here, and it's pretty happy. The garden sage looks like it's coming back from a rough winter, so that's good. I added this lovely little fountain this year, and it's been really enjoyable watching the birds play around in it. They love it. And I put these chairs over here. It's really quite nice to just sit here and enjoy the garden for a little bit when I get a chance. If you'll notice, I have lots of chairs sitting around my gardens, hoping, it's just like a hope, maybe I could just, sit there for a while. Blue juniper tree's looking really good. This rose also just got deadheaded, but it's nice and tall now. That is a 2-year-old plant. This is a 5-year-old rosemary, and boy, it's gorgeous. It needs to be cut back. It's encroaching in our walking space. Let's see, that rose back there in the corner. Again, all the roses are in between blooming right now. I'll come back when they start blooming. That one's a year-old. This one is a 2-year-old, but it's gotten up nice and tall. And this one is also a 2-year-old. And the Leland cypress tree is looking good. This is the desert willow tree that I was talking about, how it only needs absolutely, if it just has to, it can live for 3 years without water. It's amazing. It's up getting ready to bloom as well, so we're in between blooms right now, but I'll probably do a second tour this month just to, if they bloom this month. If not, I'll do that June. So the desert willow tree gets its name because it looks a little bit like a willow, because it has these seed pods that hang down. So the problem, I'll tell you the problem with them, is that they produce millions of little seeds. Let's see if we can open this up. So each one of these is a seed, and if you can see that one there by my finger that just flopped, has little wings on it, so it can fly away in the wind. So it's really built well for our area because we have the wind, and it can really spread. And they grow like weeds everywhere. Their secret, which is what makes them successful, is a one taproot that grows incredibly fast straight down, so that it can reach the water very deep in the ground. As with all trees, they only survive if they get to the deep water, not the surface water. Otherwise, their roots come up starting to look for surface water, and they cannot sustain their life with that, so they have to have deep water. So that's why this tree is very successful. However, they do spread like weeds, and let me show you an example. We have one right here that I just can't get rid of, and it is blooming. Isn't it gorgeous? So it's growing right here in the wood pile. I have dug it up every year, and finally I just gave up because I'm not going to mind the shade right there. I don't have to take care of it. It'll be fine. The trick with them is when they start popping up in the spring, if they're about that big, you've got to pull them really fast, because once they get to about this size, you actually have to dig them up. And if they get bigger than that, then you're you're going to be fighting them for quite a while because that root is so powerful, which is a really great thing. But those are the little drawbacks. I love mine. I don't mind them coming up. I don't mind pulling them. This is a Leland cypress tree. I might have mentioned that already. I don't remember. It's looking nice and healthy. They're very good drought tolerant trees. I've got some lovely lavender down here. This one is an English lavender. You can tell by the flower, the way it flowers. And then across or past the tree, you can see those lavenders there with the tall spiky flowers. That's the French one. I prefer that one. It's easier to work with. And the reason is they have shade from that tree. They are a drought tolerant plant, but cannot tolerate the kind of heat that I have out here. When I planted them underneath the desert willow tree, they really did quite nicely. Out front, let's see, let's go a different way. Let's go out this way. There's another Leland cypress right here. And then we've got a plum tree right here. It needs shaped. It's growing kind of funky. Got a bag of mushroom compost that I'm about to put there. In fact, let me talk to you a little bit about what I do and why everything is looking really good, even in a great, terrible drought that we're having right now. So the key to my gardening is I started when we had wet seasons, so everything got a really good chance to get nicely rooted firmly in place. Then I did lots of sunflowers everywhere because they draw toxins and metals out of the ground. Then I added mushroom compost everywhere, and then I added alfalfa hay. I've got an extra pile right here I can show you. So I just layered it on the ground, and this is actually from 2 years ago. So things break down slower here because we are in the higher elevation and we are desert conditions. So I'm going to add to the alfalfa hay this year, because what it does is it holds the moisture in the ground once you've watered, and then as it breaks down, it feeds the ground and the plants. Got another rose bush here. This is not a climbing one, but we've got a bud right there, so we're hoping for some new flowers. The other trick, especially now, is that we're in a severe drought. For a couple of weeks we were at 1% humidity, which is extreme. And so we do a few things that are opposite gardening, I call it, here, at least for me. I only water after dark, and in other places you don't want to water after dark because it can cause disease and mold and bacteria to grow. But here we want the ground to hold the water as long as possible. We don't want it to escape to the sunshine. So watering at night, the plants are able to absorb that water and it's able to use the nutrients in a wise way, is how I put it. This great big grass here is a pampas grass. It's a really good drought tolerant plant. Same with this one, and then these little grasses as well. The rosemary is super drought tolerant. The blue juniper tree, the Leland cypress, even the fruit trees are pretty drought tolerant. The rest are very drought tolerant, and I really enjoyed planting this because I wanted a lot of green, even though we live here in the desert. So I used a lot of things that are drought tolerant but green, and they don't necessarily look like it is drought tolerant, but it is. So over here, my little rosemary bushes have gotten huge. They are about 4 years old. I ended up cleaning out the middle here, and I'm going to be adding more rosemary bushes just because they do stay green. They're super healthy. They're really hard to kill. They're really easy to take care of. They take very little water, and they can be formed into just a lovely bush. And because of where we live, they are they live a very long time. They're not annuals. In some areas, because of the extreme cold in the winters, it's an annual annual plant, but not here. So that's lovely. Now let's head over to my little side yard. Let's take a look. I've got the pampas grass is looking really good. This one is a 3-year-old plant. And down here I have a forsythia. It's just finishing blooming. And this is a desert plant that I can never remember the name of for you guys. I apologize, but it's blooming right now. Got the Russian sage, which again is an extremely drought tolerant plant. I will go over how often I water everything now because it's become quite successful. I'm very happy with it. And you can see it is already blooming. So we will be seeing lots of bees. This is a sage I can't remember the name of either, but the hummingbirds and the hummingbird moths love it. I forgot to deadhead this rose. And I did put some, or I had my friend put some sunflower seeds in there, and we shall see if they come back up. I have this as a sun filter on the wall, and we may be changing that this year, I'm not sure. All right, so how much water does this all take? Not much at all. The fruit trees I water every week. In the July, August, I probably water twice a week for them. The willow tree, the desert willow tree, when I first put it in, I watered it daily when it was real little. And now I water every 2 months. The Leland cypress, this one is struggling, so he gets water every week. The other one gets water every 2 weeks. The grasses get water every week. The lavender gets watered every 3 days. Very little water though. The roses get watered every week. Rosemary every month. The blue juniper every month. The Russian sage every 2 months. So they're on a very good schedule and use very little. And that is, of course, if it doesn't rain. If it does rain, I let them be. It's always better. Rain is better. Hope you enjoyed the tour for May. That's how it's looking here. And sometime I'll have to come and just sit in those chairs, and maybe we can catch a little bird having fun in the fountain. Have a great day, guys. I hope you're well. Remember, be gentle with yourselves. There's only one you.